Hello all, welcome back to another video and welcome to Sammy G's World of Cinema. Today on the channel, guys, I wanted to do a bit of a kind of an overview of my 10 favourite albums of the year. So I must admit, guys, I have not been all that really tuned in to a lot of newer music this year, and actually, guys, all these albums I'm going to talk about today, I've actually not picked any of these up on vinyl. Probably could be doing these albums a little bit disservice there, because like last year when I did my top 10 albums of the year video last year, I did pick up most of them on vinyl, but I think it's just because, guys, a lot of new albums, whilst I really enjoy a lot of new releases, they just don't have that much re-listen value for me, and I don't tend to give them all repeated listens like in a year or so time. So I just figured most of these albums, whilst I really have enjoyed, I just don't know if they're going to require that re-listen value to the point where I need to own this on vinyl. And majority of these albums, guys, I'm just happy to stream if I ever do return to a lot of these. But nonetheless, guys, these 10 albums, I'm really glad to say I really have enjoyed. And actually, in fairness, my top 2 of the year I would consider picking up on vinyl at some point. But just to say, guys, this is only my personal top 10 albums of the year list. This isn't going to be by any means the ultimate top 10 best albums of the year. This is only my top 10 personal favourite albums of the year. So let's get into it. Grab yourself a cuppa or a beverage of your choice and we'll get on with the show, shall we? Come on, bring on the show. Let's go. So at number 10, I have gone for the latest album from Japanese Breakfast. I forget what the female artist's name is again, but she's a fantastic artist. And yeah, this is the album for Melancholy Brunettes from Japanese Breakfast. Now, I must admit, guys, this is probably my least favourite album from Japanese Breakfast. I don't think it's a bad album by any means. I mean, it's in my top 10, so I think it's a pretty good album. But I think whereas her previous 2 albums, Jubilee and Soft Sounds from Another Planet, I absolutely loved those albums, guys. Those albums were fantastic and they just had a lot more catchy numbers on there, a lot of hooks. But again, I think on this album, all these tracks just blurred into one after a while, and I just thought there was a couple like boring tracks. I think there was one track Jeff Bridges featured on there, and I do love Jeff Bridges, but I think that track he starred on, I think even he didn't really do enough to kind of make it a standout track. I found that track a little bit average, a little bit weak there. There was a couple of weak tracks and not very memorable, but there was some decent tracks on the whole though. I did really like the first 2 tracks. There was Here Is Someone and a track called Winton LA, and they had kind of like that nice acoustic pop rhythm to there. So yeah, I think again, Japanese Breakfast, fantastic artist though. As I say, I did love her last 2 albums before this, but this was just pretty good, but it's got some sleepish tracks on there for me that didn't really do all that much for me. At number 9, I've gone for the latest album from possibly one of my favourite solo artists, and the band's Talking Heads are probably one of my favourite bands. I love Talking Heads, and this is kind of David Byrne's comeback album, if you like, after a 7-8 year hiatus. I didn't know when it was. I think it was about 2018 when his last album, American Utopia, came out, and that is Who Is the Sky. So yeah, I was really looking forward to this album. It got announced. David Byrne announced that he's doing kind of a brand new tour in the new year, and I'm very happy to say, guys, I am going to see David Byrne in Glasgow in March next year with my dad, so I can't wait for that gig. It's probably my most anticipated gig for next year now. I just think I'm hearing a lot of brilliant things about David Byrne in concert, and yeah, that's kind of where the anticipations kicks in for me. But also, I just absolutely love David Byrne and Talking Heads, so going to see him in live will be kind of extraordinary for sure. His latest album, Who Is the Sky, whilst I don't think this is an amazing, brilliant album from David Byrne, I think David Byrne has done better solo output than this. This was still a fun listen, a great kind of like backing band as well. It had a bit of like sort of like it had a bit of a European feel. It had some like different beats and kind of different sort of like backing sound to it, and I really did enjoy that. And yeah, again, I loved I think the single on there, Everybody Laughs, is a really good fun single. Don't Be Like That, where it's kind of a bit of acoustic stripped back track, and yeah, that was probably one of my favorite tracks on there. And the last track, actually, The Truth, I thought was a really nice way to wrap up the album there. But a good solid comeback for David Byrne, and yeah, I thought this was a lot of fun actually. One I might not go back to all too often, but it's still a good fun listen all the same there. At number 8, I have gone for a fairly new band. I think a band that only came onto the scene about possibly 7-8 years ago maybe, and that is the band Shame with Cutthroat. Now, Shame are a really interesting band actually. I just think they're so varied in sound, so versatile. Like their debut album, Songs of Praise, was quite sort of post-punkish and really had that oomph to it and bite of the apple, if you like. But in the second album, they kind of went to a completely different avenue altogether, and it was a bit more like kind of a bit of shoegazy but a little bit alternative. And their last album had a bit of like an indie feel, a bit kind of had a bit of mellow feel about it. And this album, Cutthroat, possibly has been their most varied album to date, because this has got a bit of a variety of styles on there. Again, you've got a bit more of their former like post-punk roots on their debut album, but then you've got a little bit of ambient, a little bit of acoustic as well, and so it's all over the shop in terms of like a different variety of styles. But yeah, I've been a big fan of this band probably since their debut album came out, and I thought this was pretty good actually. Possibly my least favourite album from Shame, because I think I did gravitate more towards their first 3 albums, but this is still a good solid listen. Yeah, my favourite tracks on here is Quiet Life, not mistaken for the same song Quiet Life from Japan, but their track Quiet Life is pretty good, and a track called Pack Shots has got yeah, like a bit, it's kind of a bit more mellow driven, and yeah, it's really good actually. So yeah, really enjoyed this album on the whole, guys. I thought it was consistently good and pretty varied as well. So that is the band Shame with their album Cutthroat, and a band I think I would consider going to see live actually, because I've heard they're really good live as well. Coming in at number 7, I'm so glad this is on my list, and my top 10 favourite albums of the year, and that is absolutely love this guy's music. I've been a big fan of this guy probably since 2019 when I was really getting into his solo catalogue, but his former band Orange Juice as well. It happened all at the right time as well, because he actually did tour that same year, and I've been to see Edwyn Collins twice now, 2019 at the Boiler Shop, and again a couple months back, and he was really good, guys. Put on a great show, and I think this might have been his farewell tour, and if so, it's yeah, a little bit bittersweet there that we might not see Edwyn Collins do another tour again, but nonetheless, it was still great to see him once again at the Boiler Shop in Newcastle, and he put on a great show, played a lot of his solo songs and a lot of Orange Juice songs as well, and that's Edwyn Collins with his latest album, Nation Shall Speak Until Nation. So I must admit, guys, this album was a bit of a grower for me. The first time I listened to it, guys, I didn't really care for a lot of the tracks on here. I just found it a little bit by the numbers. Yeah, a lot of the tracks just didn't really do a great deal for me personally, but I've gone back and forth to it a couple times since, and yeah, it's really grown on me. And again, I don't think this is one of my favourite Edwyn Collins albums, but it's still a good one, and again, quite varied in sound actually. Some tracks have a real different flavour and a different groove about it as well, but some of my favourite tracks is the kind of a bit of a more of a gospel sort of way to kickstart the album. Knowledge, I think, is brilliant. I love the guitar work on that track as well. Heart is a Foolish Thing is probably my favourite track on this album. Again, I love kind of the chorus, the backing vocals, and yeah, it's just a brilliant track. And there's one really great ballad on here called The Bridge Hotel, that's got like kind of these flutes and stuff, and it's a beautiful ballad on that album. So yeah, there's a lot more good than bad on this album. I think, to be honest, there might be a couple fillery tracks, but for the most part, this is a good, solid album, and hopefully we'll still get another Edwyn Collins album at some point down the line. And this was his first album in since 2019 as well. So that's Edwyn Collins' Nation Shall Speak Until Nation. Coming in at number 6, and actually an artist like David Byrne, another artist I'm going to be going to see in concert in the new year in Newcastle in February. I think I'm going to see this artist in February at the NX in Newcastle, and that is Miles Kane with his latest album, Sunlight in the Shadows. Now, guys, I have been a big Miles Kane fan for a number of years now. Yeah, I've just always liked this guy's music. I really liked what he's done with Alex Turner and The Last Shadow Puppets prior to that as well. And yeah, I remember when his debut, I think it was his second album, Don't Forget Who You Are, I think the album's called, and I just remember buying that on CD again when that album came out, and I fell in love with it, and ever since then I've really have enjoyed Miles Kane, his albums. And actually, guys, I think Miles Kane is just so consistent at what he does. He makes a lot of good fun albums, and this is no exception here. This was a good fun listen. Had a bit like one of his previous albums actually had a bit of a Mark Bolan-esque feel about it as well. It did, some tracks in here did remind me a little bit of Mark Bolan and T-Rex. And again, it's just He's got an awesome backing band there, and again, it's just again really good, fun, upbeat music from Miles Kane. Got that indie flavour, but got a little bit of a kind of a sort of R&B flavour as well, if you like. But just really good stuff, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him in the new year. And yeah, some of my favourite tracks on this latest album is Electric Flower, that does feel a lot like Mark Bolan, T-Resk. A track called Without You, I think is got that real summery feel about it as well. Got a great groove to that. And the second to last track, actually, a track called I Pray, where the band are just on full form, firing at all cylinders. And yeah, again, actually, each track does have a different feel about it as well. So yeah, Miles Kane, fantastic artist. I'm really looking forward to going to see him live next year, because I can imagine he would put on a stellar show. Just a really entertaining gig, that would be for sure. So that is a Miles Kane, Sunlight in the Shadows there, his latest album from 2025. So getting into the top 5 now. So yeah, into the top 5, and yeah, I'm really glad that this album is here, guys, in my top 5 of the year, because I've had a very good time with this band's music this year. Because I must admit, I was a bit slow kind of delving into this band's work for a long time, for a number of years. I've always just stuck to their most acclaimed album, Different Class, which is an amazing album, guys. Absolutely love that album that turned 30 this year. But the other albums that this band have done, I never really got round to checking out until this year. So it's been a pleasure to check out more of this band's albums out this year, and the perfect time to do so was this year, with this being their comeback album. And I actually had the absolute honour of going to see Pulp at the Glasgow Hydro this year, and they were brilliant, guys. If I'm going to name my favourite gig of the year that I attended to, this would be it. This has got to be my favourite gig that I went to this year. Pulp just put on a great show. Jarvis Cocker, just a showman, and it was just, yeah, a brilliant experience. And I would love to go and see Pulp again live. And I would, if you're thinking about going to see Pulp in concert, guys, when the next tour, go for it, because yeah, it well worth your time. You will not regret it. They were absolutely superb at Glastonbury this year as well, and yeah, they just put on a great show. The knowing that I went to see Pulp this year, and also kind of leading up towards that gig, I went back and checked out a lot of their other albums, and this brand new album, More, that came out this year. So Pulp's first album in 24 years, so probably the most kind of acclaimed comeback album of the year, and rightly so, guys. This was excellent, really good. Just the production as well, and again, Spike Island, just a wonderful single as well. It kind of had a little bit of a similar feel to something like Noel Gallagher with the High Flying Birds. It had that similar sort of feel about it as well, but just a fantastic single. And there's just other great album tracks on here, like Slow Jam, that's a bit of a, kind of a very stripped back sort of track, and it kind of did remind me of something that Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds would do. But also there were tracks on this album where Jarvis actually did sound a little bit like David Bowie at times as well. But really, really good stuff. yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I think the other single on there, You Got to Have Love, is excellent. And the last track, Sunset, is a beautiful, like, gospel track on that album as well. But yeah, really good comeback from Pulp this year. And do you remember the first time do you remember the first time you saw Pulp? I remember the first time, and they were excellent, so I can't forget the first time. There we go, guys. I'm bursting into song now. So yeah, that is Pulp with their comeback album More. If a family member asked like what if there was an album that I wanted like in the future for my collection, I would say, please, I want some More on vinyl, like the album More. That was a dad's joke. Anyways, enough of the dad's jokes. At number 4, we've got an album that really did surprise me, actually, because, again, guys, a bit like a couple of the other artists I've talked about in this video, I have been a big fan of Florence and the Machine probably since, like, when I was at school. You know, I remember when I bought the debut album Lungs on CD and just fell in love with it. I really loved her follow-up album, is it Ceremonies, as well. Yeah, so I've been a big fan of Florence probably since about 2012 time, I would say, and I've kind of followed her career since then. And yeah, this was a good solid album from Florence. Probably not as good as her last album, I will say. Dance Fever, I think I can remember, had a lot more memorable tracks on there, but this was still decent. Kind of had a lot of like chanting on there. There was a lot of like chanting going on this album, and it had a bit of a spiritual sort of like theme on this album as well, but it was still good, guys. Again, it has a bit of a different sound for each track as well. I did really like the track on there, Sympathy Magic, probably my favourite track on that album. Really, really good. And a nice acoustic track called Buckle, which was really good. And I did also like the track Perfume and Milk. So yeah, some really good tracks on this album, some really good stuff. And yeah, Florence hasn't done a bad album in my opinion. I think all of her albums have been really, really solid. And personally, don't think she's ever going to top that debut album, Lungs, though. She could never top that, because that album is flipping amazing. But still, since then, she's delivered some really good, solid albums there, and this was no exception. So, yeah, and I've been to see Florence and the Machine live in Glasgow about 2-3 years ago, and they were really good at the Glasgow Hydro there. So, that's Florence and the Machine. And at number 3, I have gone for an album that I can see a lot of people would rank highly as their number 1 album of the year, and I'm not going to argue with that. I can totally see why this would be number 1 album of the year for a lot of people. And an album, again, I must admit I was slightly underwhelmed by on first viewing, but I went back to it and back to it, and it's really grown on me, this album, and really did enjoy it. And that is Sam Fender with People Watching. So again, guys, I have enjoyed Sam Fender's music since his debut album, Hypersonic Missiles. I remember one time my dad said about 6-7 years ago, Sam, look out for this new artist called Sam Fender on the scene. He looks like he's going to make it big one day. My dad was right, he absolutely did, and he, has just become one of the most beloved kind of modern day artists out there. And yeah, whilst I personally don't consider Sam Fender as one of my favourite artists personally, I still really like his music, and I think he's taken a lot of big inspiration from like Bruce Springsteen as well, a bit of possibly Bob Dylan and stuff like, and artists like that. So yeah, he's still the Geordie Springsteen for a reason. And yeah, there's just so many good feel-good tracks on here, like People Watching, Rain Me In is probably my favourite track on here. This is just a beautiful, blissful song. Little Bit Closer, again, that the backing vocals on there is superb, and it's just a beautiful like blissful track on that album. And Wild's Long Lie and Arm's Length are great singles on there as well. So yeah, just a really feel-good album, this one, guys, and some good ballads on there. I personally did think I preferred 17 Going Under, his previous album, but this is still a good third album. And yeah, I would definitely be up for seeing Sam Fender in concert someday. So yeah, Sam Fender with People Watching, a champion from the realms of North Shields there. And coming in at number 2, and number 2, definitely not a stinker of an album by any means. That was a bit of a dad joke there. My runner-up of the year, and again, another great comeback for another great band this year for the Chameleons, and that is their brand new album Arctic Moon, which, yeah, I was super impressed when I instantly like sort of streams this on like YouTube Music and stuff, and I just ended up really enjoying this album, guys. And this is just, again, it's quite a sprawling album, you know, it's quite immersive. There's a lot going on in kind of musicianship, you know, and obviously you've got Margaret Burgess's vocals in there, but it's really good. The Chameleons I went to see at the Riverside in Newcastle a couple of years ago on the Script of the Bridge 30th anniversary tour, and they were excellent, guys, really good. I would go and see them again actually at some point, but really good bands. And yes, Script of the Bridge is a fantastic debut album, and again, I don't think the Chameleons have ever quite topped it since, but they've still delivered some really good albums, and this is at no exception. I really, really enjoyed this one. Probably about 8 tracks on this album, and a couple of tracks are very sprawling, very immersive, but you're kind of drawn into and kind of, you know, like, transported into how sort of stunning the production is as well. Actually, a couple tracks did remind me a bit of the House of Love, possibly a bit of Echo and the Bunnymen as well. And yeah, just really good. Some of my favourite tracks in here is Where Are You, Lady Strange, and the second to last track is an absolutely fantastic penultimate track there. I think it's called David Bowie Takes My Hands, is the penultimate title of the penultimate track there. And yeah, it's really good. And again, it's just got a real crisp sound to it, a very immersive, transportative production sound to it, and just, yeah, really good stuff. So really good comeback for the Chameleons from Lancashire, I believe. So yeah, that's their comeback album, Arctic Moon. And my number 1 favourite album of the year, guys, and I must admit, I was a bit late to the party with this album. I do remember hearing really good things about it all the same. And again, I would say I've been a fan of this band's music probably for the last 5-6 years. I absolutely love the album's Lost Souls. I think that their debut album Lost Souls, I think, is amazing, and I do really like a couple of their other albums as well. Some Cities and The Last Broadcast are all really good albums. So yeah, I thought, because I really love those albums that band has done before, I would check out their latest album, and I'm so glad I did, because it's here at my #1 favourite album of the year. And yeah, I just wanted to keep going back to it and going back to it and just like kind of, you know, being kind of transported into just what a brilliant album this is for this band, and that is Doves and Constellations for the Lonely. Yeah, so Doves, fantastic band. Yeah, I've been a fan of this band's music for the past few years now, and yeah, all the albums I've listened to from this band I've been really impressed by, and this is no exception here. I think just because a lot of this band's music do remind me a little bit of Elbow, and I'm a big fan of Guy Garvey and Elbow, and Dove's music does remind me a lot of Elbow's music as well. I think they're just kind of similar styles and that, but Dove's, yeah, really good. And this, again, it's just got a real stunning production, it very immersive and very, it's just, again, got a really great indie, lush, alternative sound to it, quality to it. And yeah, and the guy's vocals on there is brilliant. And again, the bands just do such a stellar job as ever with this album yet again here. But some of my favorite tracks on here has to be Cold Dreaming, In the Butterfly House is absolutely beautiful number that on the album. I think that's like the 3rd track, and that's absolutely brilliant. Strange Weather is a great sort of stripped back track, and then the second to last track called Orlando, this sort of very big and bold and kind of ambiguous sort of second to last penultimate track on the album is just stunning. You know, it's beautiful, that second to last track, and also a couple other tracks. Teresa, first track's really good, but yeah, this is absolutely fantastic, guys. And yeah, definitely would love to go and see Doves in concert someday, because this is absolutely brilliant, and I'm so glad this takes the cake for my #1 favourite album of the year. And I can't wait to see what this band does and delivers on their next album, because this was glorious and I need to get this one on vinyl now, and a couple of other Doves albums there as well. So Doves, fantastic band, and I would love to go and see them in concert someday. So that is my #1 album of the year. So yeah, guys, those are my top 10 favourite albums of the year. And I just want to say, guys, again, this is only my personal top 10. I'm not saying these are going to be critically claimed to be the 10 ultimate best albums of the year. These are just the 10 albums that I have enjoyed the most from 2025. And do let me know, guys, your thoughts on any of these albums or any of these bands or artists, or have you got any favourite albums from this year? I would love to know all of that good stuff in the comments down below there. And yet, guys, hope everyone has had a wonderful Christmas, and I'll be back for another video before the end of the year there. So yeah, guys, thanks so much for all of your continuous support on the channel. I really do appreciate it, and I'll be back for more content soon there. So thanks for watching, cheers for stopping by, and until next time, I'll see you for the next video. Bye bye, take care, guys, thank you so much.